6/27. That's a Monday.
Right, yeah. Yeah, well, okay, because I'm going to need to check with
If
Mr.
you could check-
Nickerson and
right.
get a new date, if you will.
Okay.
So,
All right. So
then- okay.
I'll work with you on that.
okay.
Do these hourly rates come into the totals, or is that just an informational thing?
So let's say, for example, for whatever reason, we had a special project that we wanted to do within a fiscal year. Well, if this is what they would charge us per hour, for, partner manager or a staff person to conduct that work for us. So then the next item, there was a letter that was brought in, delivered to Finance Department today, and the individual requested that the letter be provided to members of the board at their meeting tonight. So that was the other item that was in your green folder. And then I'll just, on the meeting packages, I'm sorry that you didn't receive the package. However, we cannot be responsible for the U.S. mail. So as far as your request, you'd like the packages to go out the prior Wednesday?
Right, to give ample time for the U.S. Postal Service to get it to my door.
No.
Now, it doesn't always happen, Anna. Many times I do have it on Saturday. But
Yeah.
I would say this is the fourth or fifth time. Well, this is the only time I've never received it in time.
Is your address correct on the label when you get it? Is there
Yes.
something that's not right on it?
Yes, in fact, that's the curious thing. 'Cause we
On the
have
same street?
More or less, we're in the same neighborhood. There's two streets in the neighborhood. There's a Seven Darrows Ridge and there's a Seven Darrows Court. And I went to our neighbor's house on Seven Darrows Ridge to see if she had received the packet today, and she said she had not.
Okay.
So sometimes maybe the mail does
Yeah.
get mixed up, but in this case,
Okay,
it
'cause
didn't. And
the-
now I will let you know if I receive it tomorrow. So it's just very curious to me. I don't doubt that you sent them all out at the same time on Friday, but I can't make decisions, especially in excess of $3 million, without having a little time to prepare. So I know, again, I came to this meeting this evening so we would have a quorum, and I know other people got their packages in time so that they would be able to vote on that.
Right.
And I know it was critical to come tonight, but in the future, I'm just not going to come.
Right.
So if there's something that's really critical,
Mm.
call me. If it doesn't get out by Wednesday and you can't deliver it to me by Friday,
Right.
call me. I will come and pick it up. I
'Cause the
have
one thing-
no problem.
The one thing with mailing on Wednesday is the Wednesday before your meeting is the Board of Selectmen meeting. So we don't know what's going to move forward from the Board of Selectmen to the Board of Finance until the Board of Selectmen has their meeting. So what happens is the day after the meeting, the First Selectman's executive assistant provides the backup details that go out in your packages. So I don't receive that information until Thursday.
Is it possible that it can go out on Thursday?
Well, we'll work on that. The only thing.
So then you can amend my request to say, please have the packet sent no later than Thursday. And if that's not possible, still, I have had police officers come to my house to deliver packets to me to get it in time. I've had Don Melteberger drive to my house to deliver Board of Education materials because,
Right.
I wanted information before a certain meeting.
Right.
That's just my nature. I don't follow the Nancy Pelosi school of thought where you have to approve it before you find out what's in it. I just don't.
Right.
That's not me.
And we'll work together to figure out something that is.
But
gonna
again, I
work
have
for
no
everybody.
problem driving to town hall in order to get the information. So please don't hesitate to call if you think there's any problem getting it to me on time.
Is there a legal issue email? Can we
Well-
get a scan and email?
Well, that's
and
a
then we
lot
follow
of
up? Not that you're gonna have to
pages.
print it out, but you.
Well, there's a lot of pages to scan in the financial reports every month. So I wouldn't.
I would imagine, I mean, they've
That-
got high state, I mean, your scanners, you put them in and it's done, no?
Not here. The high tech. It's
I will
tough.
say, in the future,
Maybe
when
this
we
place
get a
is
new
slow.
accounting system, I think that one of the requirements that should be documented is to have read-only access to financial systems for the Board of Finance. That way you don't have to copy the reports at all. We could just go online and query different things and call up reports on our screen.
Mhm.
So that would save the
If
time.
you did that and sent it to her, I could run the copies and hold it here and not mail it to her and just hand it to her, that way she knows it's dead and she'll have a hard copy in her hand.
Yeah, I
Of
would
the
imagine
reports.
scanning and copying are the same speed.
I don't know.
Well,
I
we'll
don't
figure
know.
something
Yeah.
out to make it work, because we do,
Because I
we
think
do
I got
want you to
mine
get your
Saturday,
packages.
if not Monday. I think I got it Saturday, but it might have been Monday.
And there's three of you that are in East Lyme, Harney, too,
Yeah.
and then Beth and Lisa.
I may have gotten mine Monday, but I picked it up yesterday, I know that.
I mean, I thought for sure I would get it today.
And my
No,
truck
that's-
that broke
that's
down on the
disturbing.
side of
It
the road.
does-
It is
yeah.
disturbing.
It doesn't make sense, yeah, so.
It is disturbing, because we have the same post person. He's on the same route.
Yours went via
I
the
gave him
Pony
Christmas
Express.
cookies though.
Hey, how much?
They're all plus 1%.
So, anyways, okay, so
All right.
I think
All right.
we're,
Yeah.
with that said, we'll find a way to make it work for everybody.
Okay.
And that's
People
the
waiting to
end
speak.
of what I have to say.
Okay. Any further questions for the finance director? Having no
Good.
further, oh, you're good?
No, I think we're good.
Okay,
Good.
so having no further questions, we'll move on to old business, starting with the purchasing policy,
Yeah, we'll work on that,
public discussion. I'm gonna
Yeah.
do that.
yeah, so, under, old business, I don't have anything to report this evening.
Does anybody have any questions with regard to old business?
Is the purchasing policy just that because it's been budget season, you haven't been able to spend any
To
time with
focus,
it?
I need to focus and spend some time on it.
Because I'd imagine it's a couple of hours of pulling other town stuff and going through it.
Right.
And I don't think it's too exotic.
And I'll ask this question on behalf of Lisa Picarossi, because I know she'd be very interested in when Sergeant Masick is going to come before the board to discuss the overtime budget.
Yeah, I did discuss it with Mr. Nickerson when we were putting the agenda together, and he had requested that we wait until a meeting that he was going to be here.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll try to get him here in July,
Okay.
next meeting.
Any further questions on old business?
And I did, Sergeant Masick was in my office the other week discussing something, and we did talk about him coming to this board.
So that's still on his radar?
It is.
Okay, thank you. All right. So we will close old business and open up for public discussion. I would like to begin by reading Ms. Kelly Strike's letter into the record from 20 Brook Road, Niantic, June 8th, to the Board of Finance. Okay.
Take a page apiece.
Dear members of the board, I respectfully request that my letter be read into the minutes of tonight's meeting. I am providing comment regarding the proposal to renovate Lily B. Haynes, LBH, presented to you on Wednesday, May 25th. I'm sure that you are all aware that a plan to renovate Niantic Center School and rebuild Flanders was initially selected and approved by the Board of Education last year. This plan was the result of years of effort by the design committee and general public. It represents the best option for elementary education in our town. Several factors that resulted in the selection of this plan include report and recommendations for next steps, design steering committee, November 17, 2014. Bullet point, educational quality and experience. Paren, my comment, NCS is ranked the 9th elementary school in the state based on 2014-2015 data. What impact will closing NCS have on property values? question mark. Site location. My comment. The location of NCS is ideal for a school as it spotlights the excellence of our education system. NCS is embedded in our community and being highly visible encourages the home-school connection that educators strive to achieve. The location of NCS also lends itself to walking field trips, getting kids moving in their own community while creating no additional transportation expenses. This is actually an added value to the town's investment in NCS. The locations of NCS and Flanders also minimize the length of time that elementary-aged children are riding a bus to and from school. Finally, NCS and Flanders represent our two townships. New bullet point, site size. My comment. The play area around LBH is limited. Students at NCS and Flanders have greater opportunity to play football, soccer, or just run freely because both schools have large fields. Having large outdoor areas also permits outdoor PE should the teacher choose to do so. New bullet point, building and renovation costs. I don't have any description under building renovation costs, is that correct?
Yes.
Right.
Okay. New bullet point, operating cost savings. My comment. The town has already realized cost savings by deferring upgrades at the 3 elementary schools. Once renovated and rebuilt, additional cost savings will be realized due to increased energy efficiencies. New bullet point, disposition of vacated school site. My comment. Initially, LBH was to be repurposed for use by the town, possibly town offices and a police station. Jeff Newton has stated that the town no longer has use for LBH, but I beg to differ. Just this past budget cycle, the town included an item to expand the public library, and the Board of Education is uncertain where to place Coastal Connections. It would seem that repurposing LBH to house the youth center and education offices would allow expansion of the library at the community center and relocation of Coastal Connections to the Flanders location. Learn and create a preschool already do and likely will continue to occupy space at LBH. New bullet point, other long-term considerations. New bullet point, community culture and tradition. Excuse me. Please consider the above and my comments provided herein as you deliberate the proposal to renovate LBH. I'd like to point out that the LBH proposal addresses one school and puts a Band-Aid on Flanders. It also creates inequity in our education system. LBH will host 500 students, while Flanders will host 350. By the time LBH is renovated and Flanders is built, the total cost is likely to be $25 million more than the NCS FL plan. And that only accounts for increased construction costs, not decreased state reimbursement. As a taxpayer, I find these numbers disturbing. I also have concern that within the next 10 years, a new town hall, expansion of the library, and other capital improvement projects will be proposed that could be addressed through repurposing an existing town structure. The proposed LBH renovation is quickly adding up to $20 million over the cost to renovate NCS. While I appreciate the attempt to acquire the soccer field immediately adjacent to LBH for student recreational use, I believe that Mark Nickerson estimated the cost to install a new soccer field of the same quality at Bride Park at roughly $10 million. The cost estimate to renovate NCS was determined to be $26 million, $8 million less than the cost estimate to renovate LBH. Now add an additional $10 million to the LBH proposal, and it's close to $20 million more than to renovate NCS. Please see the table below, which provides the estimated cost of the 3 school projects. Also note that the table includes the percentage of the total project reimbursable by the state. The LBH project will receive the lowest state reimbursement when compared to the total project costs. Finally, I'd like to point out that Mark Nickerson estimated that an additional $20 million would be necessary to repurpose LBH for town use. It seems that an additional $20 million may be necessary to make the renovation at LBH feasible. Why can't this $20 million be used to repurpose LBH and create a plan that more taxpayers benefit from? For example, expansion of the library. And then Ms. Strike has a table here with various numbers, and footnotes explaining the different figures and comments, which will all be part of the public record. In addition, the soccer field located adjacent to LBH is heavily used even for other youth sports such as fall football. Lacrosse is becoming a larger sport in town, and the fields at Bridebrook are used to accommodate this increased activity. In fact, it is often difficult to get field space for practice. The relocation of the soccer field to Bridebrook will result in decreased field space available for youth sport activities. With the above in mind, I pose the following questions. 1. Can the NCS Flanders project plan also be phased in 2 stages? This would be similar to the LBH proposal of renovating LBH first and Flanders in about 10 years. 2. Can the design plans be modified to reduce the cost of the NCS Flanders plan? For example, eliminate the amphitheater. 3. Because the NCS renovation is somewhat of a small project, can NCS be renovated without a mill increase to the town? For instance, is enough debt coming off the records to undertake the NCS project? If so, wouldn't that allow Flanders to be rebuilt sooner, say in 3 to 5 years, to avoid some of the estimated increased cost? 5. What else could LBH used for? Parks and recreation, relocation of the youth center, to allow for expansion of the library and education offices. Learn and Creative Play School already occupy about 50% of the usable space at LBH. 6. How can the elementary schools project offer more benefits to the taxpayers? 7. Can the savings to operations and maintenance due to improved facilities of approximately $750,000 and cost of closing LBH be factored into the debt payment? Another concern I have is in regards to downtown Niantic. I did not purchase my house in Niantic to reside in the Niantic Center School District, nor did I purchase my house to patronage the downtown Niantic restaurants. I moved to Niantic from downtown Mystic to live in a quaint, functional town. In 2013, Niantic was voted a fan favorite town over Mystic. I believe this happened because real people actually live here. Currently, downtown Niantic provides goods and services to the community. Going forward, it will be especially important to maintain a balance between the community look and feel and a destination for tourists to visit. An important consideration is the closing of Niantic Center School and what will likely become of the property, a condominium complex. The First Selectman's blog identifies residences to be built within walking distance to our village as one of the missing key elements to invigorate downtown Niantic. It is obvious that there is not a lot of opportunity within walking distance to downtown to construct cluster housing. Will Niantic Center School become a condominium complex? ? Finally, it is clear that the Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance endorsement of this plan is expected. Jeff Newton has already moved the principal of NCS to LBH, and the students at NCS have been informed by school staff that their school is closing. An interim one-year principal has been appointed at NCS. Also on May 25th, Mark Nickerson openly stated that he will approve the LBH proposal. He said this without hearing delegations and without considering the financial impact on the taxpayers, as well the overall impact on the community of Niantic. Last paragraph. I hope to see the Board of Finance thoroughly consider this matter and make a fully informed decision. Thank you for your time. Kelly Strike. That being concluded, is there anybody from the audience that would like to address the Board of Finance? One at a time, please.
They're doing it together.
Oh, okay, you're together. Just handing out.
You
Okay.
only have one person.
Thank you.
I know that over a month ago,
If you could, I'm sorry, please state your name and address for the record again.
My name is Philip Russell, 4 Bramble Bush Drive, Niantic, Connecticut,
Thank you.
which, by the way, is in the Bush Hill area, so we appreciate the appropriation for the roads. And also, the other 2 people in this neighborhood are also from Stonywood Drive, which is going to take advantage of that, so thank you very much.
You're welcome.
First of all, I want to let you know that there's not many people. About a month ago, you had a long meeting. You had a lot of parents talking to you. We've eliminated that. We've got one presentation to make just for your consideration. We don't have a line of people walking out. We've been working with those people, and we're trying to give you one, what we call a modified plan, that makes that good economic sense. A committee of taxpayers and parents got together to review the very expensive plans for school closures, and we believe that we have come up with a new modified plan that makes good economic sense. We have all agreed not to parade to the podium, I already said that. As a business manager of public schools for 29 years, and also a finance director, like Annie, in the town of Guilford for 6 years. I know what you're going through. It's a hard decision, and I know what the Board of Ed is going through. I've closed 8 schools, elementary schools, in my career. It's a very difficult decision. Currently, I am a consultant to Learn, a financial consultant to Learn. All 8 schools that we closed in my career were very similar to East Lyme because we had similar economic circumstances. There's a feeling that we've got too many schools for our elementary enrollment. Understanding that something must be done to keep a strong education system in East Lyme and be responsible to all taxpayers, including seniors. Seniors can't afford this stuff. We understand that you have to close a school. Before you is a PowerPoint presentation that highlights what we are going to present. If you go to the second page, there are 2 plans out there. You've only been presented one of those plans a couple weeks ago. That was what I'm calling the new plan. The original plan, there was a vision committee that spent many, many hours developing that plan. And we believe that that is a good plan, but it needs modification. The approved plan, as you can see on this slide, shows that the total cost to the town would be $58 million. Now, this is net cost to the town after state reimbursements. The new plan is more expensive. It's $67 million. If you subtract the 2, the savings to the town by implementing the original plan, which we're not in favor of, but if you did do the original plan over the new plan, you would save $8,300,000. If, and this is all hypothetical, if you were to sell NCS, and I don't think you would get more than $2 million, because most of the costs, most of those buildings that have been selling all across the state and the country, they're selling between $1 million and $2.5 million. You're not going to get more than that. In fact, there's one right for sale in Waterford that right now the asking price is $1.5 million for a 50,000 square foot building.
Was that the one that was in the paper?
I don't know what was in the paper, but I'll tell you, it's Southwest School. There's another one. There's Southwest School, and then there's another one, Cocansey School, which is right next to the mall.
Mm-hmm.
Learn approached them on that one, but they really want to make condos out of that one. So, and think about this, theoretically, now I'm talking about economic sense, and that's why I'm here for the Board of Finance. If you sold NCS and actually made the cost of this new plan less expensive by $2 million, and if you turn that into either a shopping center like Flanders Plaza, which brings in $108,000 a year. Or if you turned it into condos, which would bring in I'm just saying, if you had 20 or 25 condos, that would bring in around $100,000. It would take 50.
Are you speaking annually in terms of property,
Annually,
in terms
yeah.
of property taxes?
It would bring in that much annually.
And
But-
I'm sorry, is that number here in,
No, if you go to the official statement, you know, that you, when you sell bonds, I got one from Annie. And the Flanders Plaza brings in $108,000 a year. There's a condo complex that would bring in about $100,000, okay? But if you took that, and I'm talking from an economic standpoint, if you took the fact that we're gonna spend $6 million more for the new plan, it would take 59 years of that new income of $109,000, if you got that much, to make up and break even. So we're talking about in 2080 or something. If you go to the next slide, and I want to compare the difference between closing Niantic Center versus closing Lily B. Haynes. Now, it was stated at the meeting that you guys listened to the Board of Ed that it was $820,000 in savings by closing Niantic Center School. There's no way. I've done this many times. I've closed 8 schools, and I started with numbers like this until I finally realized, well, they're going to need an assistant principal at the bigger school, and they're going to need this or that. The supplies have to go with the other people. The normal savings are anywhere between $300,000 and $500,000. Okay, but there will be savings. But the point I'm making with this slide is, if closing NCS is $820,000, then closing Lily B. Haynes is going to be even more, because it's twice as much square foot. And on the bottom, you'll see it's a larger building, double in size. It has higher electricity, higher oil costs, higher maintenance and cleaning costs. It only goes to show it's a bigger building, you would save more. $6 million. Now, the next slide talks about what is left. And this is the most important slide I have to present to you. Because what is the town going to have at the end of planning? The original plan, and what is it going to have left if you had the new plan? Under the original plan, which was very, very well thought out, you have one brand new Flanders school, and you have a brand new section of Niantic Center School, and then you have a renovated section which has extended its life for over 20 years. So therefore, part of Niantic Center would be good for 2040, but the other parts, 1.5 schools left, would be going right into the 22nd century. So from an investment standpoint of what you have in assets, building assets, it makes more sense to have the first plan. So in other words, or put another way, in the first part, 123,000 square feet would have an expected life into the 22nd century, and 50,000 square feet would have another 20 years of life put into it. And, you know, it might last longer than 20 years, but that's what the state hopes, is when they put more money in Renovate as New, that it would extend, it has to extend the life of the building by 20 years. The new plan, I won't go over it, you can see it. It shows that more than half, less than half of the square footage is going to have an extended life for into the 22nd century, but 100,000 square feet is extended just for 20 years. And the last.
Can I ask you a question?
And the note I'm saying is that Haynes will be 90 years old in 2047, whereas you'll have 2 schools that are almost new all the way into the 22nd century. Yes?
Well, I'm just looking at the square footage, and I'm a little confused. On the original plan, you have Flanders School at 100, well, renovated for the 80 years.
Right.
123,
So
But that
100
includes a part of the NCS new
Right.
addition
Right.
at 80, okay.
Yeah,
So really, the Flanders square footage is 89. If you,
the Flanders.
Would have to be
yes,
89.
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
all right, so that's
So
80. So it's
Flanders-
89, and the difference between the 89 and 123 is the square footage for the new section?
Right, it's 89,000. The difference between 123 and 89,000 is the new square footage that NCS is going to have,
Okay,
okay? And this all came off the architect's numbers.
okay.
So from an economic standpoint, from an investment standpoint, what are we talking about? Taking a Lily B. Haynes, which is already 60-something years old, and bringing it up to 80, to the point where it's gonna be 90 years. Now, foundations and all that stuff last for quite a while, but they don't last forever. So this is the most important slide that I could give you, to say that we've got assets that we can invest. We could cost less money to the town, and we have building assets gonna last longer.
How old will NCS be in the year 2047?
In 47, that'll be about the half that you
No, just-
extended will be, that 50,000 square feet will be about 87 or 92. I'm not sure, I don't remember exactly, but it's
So about
in
the same.
Oh, yeah.
It's in the same.
They were all in the same area. They were
Right.
all built in the
50s, 60s.
50s with additions put on in the 70s and
Yeah.
things like that. So all I'm saying is, if you were ever going to even talk about these two expensive plans, and I think it's very, I mean, as a taxpayer now, not as a, I wouldn't want to spend that much money on these schools. Next slide. This, as a group of concerned citizens, and this is, they've agreed not to come here because they all believe in this plan, okay? We decided to modify the current Board of Ed plan based on, again, a lot of my experience, but also what they were talking about, shouting about, whatever. Scale down the NCS project. You know, they got geothermal. I don't know if you've seen it. We got geothermal in both plans. Geothermal works. It saves you a little money. It costs a lot more in electricity, but it saves you all of your oil expense, okay? So the investment, though, of $4 million in one of those schools and about $3.9 million in the other will take a long time. We're saying scale that down, replace it with a traditional heating system. Boilers last 40 to 50 years. And then you can replace them again, you know, I mean, it's not as expensive. And one of the things that Waterford has come up with, and I was the interim business manager of Waterford Public Schools in 13-14 when we did that program. What I'm hearing from Jay Minor is, yes, we're saving a lot more. If you take oil and electricity, yes, there is a net savings, but now it's not as much because oil's down. But if oil goes back up, you'll have more savings. But he says the repair costs of all the fans and all the air handling units that go throughout that building is starting to mount up. I'm not saying, I don't know what the long term, they were the best experiment in the state. Everybody's watching them, you know. But anyway, scale that down and then work with the architect to get the building project down to